Oh, hello everybody. I am just adding Rega now. Yep. This phone does this thing where it doesn't. Rega is on the call with us, which is awesome. Rega, you should be getting a notification. And there we are. You're joining. Hello. Are you able to hear?
Hi, Stefan. I am. Hi, how are you?
Good. You're a little bit soft, Rega. Are you able to speak just up a little bit?
How about now?
That's a little bit better. Let me just see. Could be my earphone that was falling out. Probably that.
Okay, good catch.
Okay. Yes. So I'm very excited to speak to you because I've been, well, as you know, I'm a co-founder of the Wellness Lifestyle Conference, and I've seen your emails come through every so now and then in regards to marketing material for Master Pay. So when I saw that you booked a session with us, I obviously went and looked up exactly who you are and all the rest of it. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much more here. So I'm very excited that you're joining us for an interview today. For those of you who don't know, Rega is a life coach and mentor, and she is the head of all esoteric departments at the Institute for Higher Consciousness. But as with all my guests, I would like to know a little bit more about the person behind the job title. What got you started on this journey of, of being a healer for so many people, I suppose?
Thanks, Stefan. It's lovely to be here. And I've been intimately in touch with your team from the Wellness Conference over the last couple of months. And it's been a great journey. And I'm glad to be back, getting back in touch. This time you can see me behind the email.
Yes.
And yeah, I'd love to share more. I do believe that as a person, as an individual, we all undertake our own journey. And as we continue to grow and polish ourselves and expand our horizons, that's where we become, each step makes us more useful, more functional, more serviceful to others. So that's kind of been my well. A bit of a rebel in the beginning, I suppose. So let's
Aren't we
backtrack.
all?
Today, I'm working as a head of esoteric departments. So I chair certain departments at the Be Life Institute for Higher Consciousness. I'm also a senior specialist and a board of director at the Wisdom Institute for Leadership and Global Advancement. And I'm a certifier for several specializations of healing at the World Institute for Incurable Diseases. So I suppose there are many sides of the coin, many facets of the gem. But my personal journey really began at a very young age when I found my disillusionment with the world around us. So that's why I've been a student of life, I've been a student of the world, and I've been learning and assimilating by looking at what's happening around us. And that's really the first awakening that I had. So I'd always been, I would say, inspired to do something, to make a change, to have a contribution. You know how we are. We're rebels. We're light workers. We want to make a
Yes.
difference. At the time when I realized, pardon my language, but how crappy things are around, systems are corrupt, it's hard to make a difference. Most of the, aid funds are not really going towards social projects. And just the general outlook of how crystallized our societies are, how stuck and obsolete the old systems are. It made me come to a point where I was just, just about ready to put my hands up, throw in the towel and say, okay, I really want to make a difference, but it seems like there's no way, because every time I play the scenarios out, I see how corrupt and how I would say compromised the different industries are, the different facets of life are. And I had an internal crisis. I would call it a spiritual crisis because nothing was
Right.
really wrong with me. It was my study of the world, my empathy and connection with what's
Mm-hmm.
going on around that forced me to awaken and to look for more ways to be serviceful and be of help. So that brought me to study and to learn, and as well as my own journey of going through this process and overcoming, my own health challenges that brought me from being a person with a health challenge to becoming the healer and transforming that transformative experience of going from the person who is the patient to the one who becomes the healer, and then eventually the one who becomes the trainer to teach and certify other healers to help more people. So
Oh,
that's what I believe today. Starting with myself, multiplying the positive impact so that we can bring as many new and pioneering tools that can help us to kind of break through the societal limitations, jargon, superstitions, a lot of the different
mm,
crystallizations in the world, and being from different backgrounds, from different professional experiences. My clients come from many arena of life, all the way from like political leaders to social workers to really the destitute and the indigenous tribes, that have lack of education. So I work from the young and the old, the rich and the poor, and that's my way of touching people's lives and making them equipped with new life tools so that they can be the game changers and they can have a
yeah,
multiplication of spreading good light and a transformative experience in the places where they are. So as you can say, I would say flower and bear fruit where you are planted and then spread your good seeds all around. So this journey began in India, where I was born, where I did a
mm-hmm.
lot of my experience in spiritual studies, learning and exploring different religions, different philosophies, different cultures. And then I traveled to the West. I lived in the States for a long time. I traveled back to the East. I'm presently based in the Philippines, where I also have a resort for healing and spiritual education. So when you're ready for your next post-COVID travel, you're welcome to join us here. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's kind of like a snippet of how my journey's been. And yeah, so today I'm also working on healing and certifying other specialists. At the same time, I also find that a lot of the people really do need help in balancing our spiritual and material life. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
aspect that I in my own experience with people. A lot of apart from the corporate side, and clients who need life balancing, who need new strategies for their productivity and efficiency. I personally also love to work with people who are on the spiritual path so that we can be guides and mentors for each other and point the way along so that we evolve one step to the next, undergo our own spiritual
Yes.
awakening, um, because that's where the support is the hardest to find, right? I think a lot of your students and followers and your community around the wellness conference are really spiritual seekers, mystics, people
Mm-hmm.
who are really looking to make that shift from within. And I usually find that it's the healers who need another healer. It's the psychics
Absolutely.
who need to help them because they're so busy helping people that by the end you're done coaching, you're done mentoring, you're exhausted, you've depleted your energy, and
Mm-hmm.
then you run out of stuff. So before you have compassion fatigue, it's very important to bring new tools to keep upgrading those people who are doing very important work in terms of transforming humanity, in terms of helping each other. So I usually work a lot using my third eye and psychic intelligence and esoteric practices in upgrading other light workers, spiritual seekers, mentoring them so that we're not only talking about the mundane problems, but starting to go to the next level, bringing them to the intelligentsia, to the advanced humans, and hopefully create a more saintly humanity, or what I call the new humanity. That's part of the process. So I believe it's a journey, but it's quite exciting to be here. And I'll be, I guess, the reason that I joined in was also to just share with all your viewers and my friends about the upcoming International Convention for Higher Consciousness. So I'll be talking about some things there, and I wish that all of you can come and join us as well. So with that, I'm going to
For
leave you to
sure.
your next line of inquiry.
Ah, well, thank you so much. I think that you've hit some really key points there. And first of all, if I may say, thank you for not taking the path of if you can't beat them, join them, because I think that is something that a lot of people who are called to a healing path, because of how difficult it is and how traumatic it can be, they can sometimes end up backsliding and just going, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I'm just gonna put my gifts aside and I'm just gonna live completely in the mundane. And I know I was one of, I kind of just put everything to one side and said, no, I'm just going to um, work purely in financial services and that's it. Never for a second did I think that there was a way to alchemize the two together. Um, but it's always so refreshing to hear when someone like you comes along and says, no, actually, I didn't throw my hands up in the air. I went for it and I decided to take this healing path to the next level. So thank you for that. And the other thing that you touched on, which I think is so important, and maybe you could elaborate on it a little bit more, and it's something that I've had discussions with several of my friends who are on this path, on this journey, on the spiritual awakening. They're going deeper into their own spirituality, whatever that might be, whether it might be Buddhism or Hinduism or even Christianity, and really getting deeper into the core, fundamental, but yet esoteric teachings that each one has. And one of my friends, him and I have this debate where he keeps saying, oh, it's all about the spirits. And I said, well, it is, but by the same token, we're here in the physical and we have to live here. And I feel like it behooves us to really enjoy our existence here to the best of our ability, to combine, and there's that word again, alchemize the spirit with the physical to create a better existence for all. How do you find for yourself, and especially with dealing with executives the way that you do, how do you get them to balance the two out, that they don't feel like they have to go be a guru on a mountaintop, that they can live in the physical world and still have a spiritual experience?
Yeah, we don't all need to shave off our head and be hiding in a cave, meditating for hours. Because if you do too much
Yes.
Om, you might become Omless.
I like that.
It's a very good point, and that's something that I truly believe in. It's about bringing heaven on earth. The last couple of
Mm,
years, few thousands of years, have really been about abstraction of consciousness. So everything is about withdrawal. The spirituality is individual. It's a personal spirituality. It's a mystical and personal spirituality, which makes us aloof and isolated. I think, and that's one of the
mm,
reasons the people who went on to become legends, who went on to become saints, who became martyrs, who became saviors of their own people, their own cultures, they withdrew and they eventually moved on. Now, what we need today are champions. We need saintly people. We need more advanced souls to bring back and ground back that more advanced understanding, that enlightenment back to the physical plane. And it's about not anymore a battle in the heavens. It's about the battle of good and evil now happening in the physical plane. If I can say that in a sort of a metaphor. For me, it's very literal, but that's sort of the experience. So it's not that everything is about the spirit. We are a spirit, which is our highest self. Not everybody has awakened it yet. So our spirit uses the soul, which takes the physical body, our emotions, our mind, as a vehicle to express our experiences. And it's not, you cannot develop one without the other, because one is an impression or one is an expression of the other. So if you have really a very,
Yes.
very lazy personality, then maybe the will of your soul is also underdeveloped. Or if you have a jealous heart, then the wisdom of your soul has not fully nourished and awakened. So the imbalances that you can see in your personality, like you have power, love, and light. That's the metaphysics. You can call it Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva in Hinduism. You can call it
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost in Christianity, or Allah, all powerful, all merciful, and all knowing in Islam. And this is a universal thing that I see in my studies of
Yep.
different religions, different cultures, that this is like a trinity of expression of nature. So if that trinity is imbalanced in your personality, that's you're missing gap in your soul. So as we grow, we also evolve our personality, which becomes a playing field for us to awaken that part of the soul which is asleep. Because it's an illusion or it's a fallacy if we think that all the souls are perfected. The souls are under construction, the souls are developing. Some souls are very awake, they're masters, they're saints. Some souls are
Mm-hmm.
but flowers. They're just starting to blossom. Maybe some are still seeds, they haven't germinated yet, you know. So
Yes.
just as that experience goes, it's very important to ground the spirituality into material life and elevate the
Mm-hmm.
material life following the spiritual principles. And that's why you need to fly high with two wings, a material wing and a spiritual wing. Then you can ascend higher. Otherwise, you have a short flight, you know, if you're either imbalanced. Too much spirituality is not good. You become a victim, you become aloof, you become broke, you cannot pay your credit card bills. You cannot pay your home mortgage, you cannot finance your bills
Mm-hmm.
every month. But too much materiality is also not good. It curtails or it curbs your next internal development. So it's about finding the right balance where you grow as an individual. Your spiritual pursuit allows you to keep on evolving yourself, no matter which spiritual path you take. Any culture, any mystical practice, any religious practice, at the end, it's about the union of the personality with the soul and eventually higher up with the spirit. So, as that goes on, I like to boil them down into very practical life tools, into actionable
Mm-hmm.
strategies. I believe in practical spirituality, which can be applied day to day. Life tools that you can really use to check and balance yourself. Healing tools
Yeah.
that you can use to unblock your health challenges, your karmic challenges, your physical, emotional, mental blockages, so that you can develop yourself beyond the certain limitations of what psychology or medicine has to offer. So healing is very important too. Strategies to balance your life are important. Techniques to profile your consciousness according to the 8 types, 7 types of human temperament are very important to understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your lessons to learn, what are your common fears, so that you can discover where you find eventually the highest source of fulfillment in life. So that comes with the man know thyself, right? And these are some of the aspects apart from balancing your trinity, undertaking a kind of curriculum where you balance your power, your training for power, training for love, and training for light, so that you don't become too much love without intellect, or too much intellect without power. You don't want to be imbalanced. So those kind of
Yes.
curriculum are that I fully pursue in bringing it to executives, in bringing it to kids, in bringing it, to different groups and corporations. It has to be palatable and it has to be applicable. And that's also one of the reasons that I love to have these kind of conversations that we're having today, get into discourse about where is that space to connect what we are seeing around us with the esoteric and more spiritual understanding of life. And that's one of the reasons I joined the ICHC, the International Convention on Higher Consciousness, because I wanted to talk about and share about um, what changes are happening around us, put the spiritual and the
Mm-hmm.
esoteric and the psychic analysis of what's happening to the economy, what's happening with the pandemic. Is there an esoteric reason behind it? What's the karma of humanity that this is happening now? And what does it mean for the next
Yeah.
steps of us, of all of us? So there are lots of changes coming ahead that we see. I've been predicting this for a few years. In the last ICHC 2 years ago, we did this with like dignitaries from 30 countries. We did it publicly. I gave a presentation and I showed the maps, the drawings of the pandemic. So when the Johns Hopkins Institute had been releasing the latest maps of the developments of COVID-19, I saw my old maps and I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it overlaps. It's the same. So esoteric and psychic download are one of the things that enable us to have anticipative intelligence, which is
Yes.
not only seeing something without understanding it, but putting it in a context of what do these changes mean for us? What do they mean for maybe, one of your friends, another business person? What does it mean for
Mm-hmm.
a spiritual leader, a political leader? What does it mean for a housewife? Maybe for a kid who's a more advanced soul, who's meant to do something bigger in the future. So it's about seeing the
Yes.
and also maybe we will share a little bit about what are the next changes that I see coming ahead. I know you spoke briefly with Master Delpay just before our conversation, so he's
Yes.
hinted some of these things to you already. So I work very closely with him on the book because I also edit all of his books. I'm the esoteric editor of
Okay.
his books, and we work together on the Aquarium Revolution. So it talks about what physical changes are coming, what shifts are coming in the earth. Because as we speak, there are at least 30 new islands forming right now. You know, uh, there are there are series of species going extinct. There are new species being born. There's so many changes happening. There are more wars being fought. So there's like a pattern of energy. When you as a light worker are tuning into yourself or others, we can feel our emotions. We're aware of what's happening in our mind. The same way the earth is also an alive being. It's going through its own
Mm-hmm.
initiatory. It's like a catharsis. Sometimes you have to, go to the toilet to feel better, or you have to vomit and throw up to feel better. It's very
Yes.
unpleasant, terrible,
It
but at
is,
the
but
same
it's necessary.
you need to release the toxicity, and that makes you feel better.
Yes.
So there's a lot of shift that's going to happen, and it's seen in the movements of the next earthquakes, which are overdue, the next
Mm-hmm.
movements of tidal waves, where they would form, and where are the next hotspots of disease outbreaks. So these that I've been studying and plotting and charting as part of my work. This is I would say my passion project is to study the earth as a being and see where are the elementals, where the different energies, um, and start to bring a more esoteric and cohesive understanding, so that we not only get so busy looking at ourselves as human beings, the whole world rotates around us, but start to see the earth as a more alive being with kingdoms, with the human kingdom, with the animal kingdom, with the
Absolutely.
plant, with the angelic or the divine kingdoms of more enlightened beings that have a plan for the earth, you know, and we try to tap into it, we try to follow it, we try to execute it the best way that we can through our own lives, through our own service. But these are esoteric components of how to connect the spiritual understanding with the expert analysis of everybody's predicting an economic crash, or the spiritual understanding and esoteric predictions behind what are the big career changes and industry changes or big transformation in
Right.
healthcare, what necessitates it. So this is kind of like part of, I would say, a larger conversation, but it's a very important precipice this time when we have just started these changes. So I'm keen to have this conversation with as many people to start to think of what's the role of higher consciousness in each of our industries and each of our lives.
Amazing. On that note, Rega, unfortunately, we have to end there. But I'd like to just ask if people would like to get in touch with you. Obviously, you will be tagged in this video as well. As I mentioned at the outset, Rega is a life coach as well and a mentor. If people would like to get in touch with you directly and become a client, how should they do that? Do they DM you? Is there a specific email address they can reach out to? How should they get in touch?
Okay, well, the best way, well, if you're watching me on IG Live, then just DM me here. And you can also find me on Facebook, Rega Stellar. I have a LinkedIn profile, Rega Stellar. And you can get in touch with me, regas@mdpblife.com. But I would like to invite everyone as my closing message to the International Convention on Higher Consciousness, which is November 8 and 15. We have a lot of experts coming and talking and continuing this conversation that we've had today. And it's going to be on
Fantastic.
bit.ly/ICHC Global. So I'll put it down in the comments later. And I hope that you all
Fantastic. Thank you.
and reach out to me anytime for a conversation, a virtual coffee, a free consultation, or anything of the sort. And thanks again for hosting me. And I wish all the very best to the Wellness Conference. Your content
Thank
each
you.
month is so vast and so exciting. And I'm sure that your audiences and students will continue to grow and continue to amass more light, more power, and more love. So keep up the good work, and
Thank
thanks
you.
again for speaking tonight.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'll definitely stay in touch because I would like to continue this conversation myself. So yes, we'll definitely stay in touch with you. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much again, Rega, and I will speak to you soon.
Okay, be well, everyone.
Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.